good morning. I'm back. I'm still alive in one piece. Hold on, I'm chatting here. Here we go. Good morning, Patriots. Welcome to Ed Henry's Wake Up Patriots. I'm not Ed Henry, but I know we could be brothers. What can I say? You know, age before beauty, right? So anyway, back to the topic of the day, which is us. We're going to be talking about a number of really cool things today. I'm just back from Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas. No, I didn't see Elvis, although I looked for him. I looked for him really hard. But no, I didn't see Elvis. But someone who is very Elvis-like is Chris Cordani. Good morning, Chris.
Whoa, how about that? Oh, here, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And by the way, when you say age before beauty, it's a tough one for me because I have both. All right, maybe not.
Well, it's always it's all good, and especially since so much of what we do on the show is all about looking good rather than feeling good, right? You look marvelous, so to speak.
That's great. You look marvelous. That way,
you look absolutely marvelous, darling. You know, Fernando's Hideaway. So speaking of someone who's been at Fernando's Hideaway is Karen Turk. Good morning, Karen.
Oh wait, that's not funny.
She's
Karen,
speechless. She's speechless.
Karen,
she can't even talk.
Is that better? Is
I
that
have a
better?
lot to say.
There she is.
Oh, here I am. I had a lot to say. I was talking the whole time and nobody was listening. Imagine that. It's just like my life at home with my
absolutely
kids.
marvelous, darling. Absolutely.
Like
And I don't say this to everybody, you know. You look absolutely marvelous. Absolutely.
I hate when that happens.
It's right back. I love it. That's great. I didn't know you did impressions. You continue to impress me, Tony. Every time we come on the show, there's something new and exciting. You too, Chris. And you know what, Chris? I want to say that Tony had an opening at the beginning of the show to be super comedic, and I caught it because I'm always watching everything that goes on backstage. But he said you were very Elvis-like, and I thought he was going to go with, he's the king, right? And he was going to give you some big introduction. And instead, you had to do your own impression. What kind of BS is going on this morning?
Well, I don't know. I gotta tell you, the Colonel's gonna give you a tip on that one. I don't know, about a Cadillac or something.
At least he doesn't have cheeseburgers with 5 eggs and succotash on top, right, Chris? You don't do that like Elvis.
Or I don't think he really meant Elvis. You see, if it was more like me, since I'm a rather punkish guy from the 1980s and everything else like that. How about a star from that era like Elvis?
Elvis.
Who is
Elvis?
Elvis? No,
I don't know Elvis.
Wow.
No.
Oh, well, you got to check him out. He's like a.
Who is Elvis?
Yes, he's like a Hispanic. He's an Hispanic Elvis impersonator type. That's more of a punk rock musician. Now, maybe you want to go with somebody more like me, Tortelvis, who was the lead singer of Dred Zeppelin. Tortelvis. I sound more like Tortelvis when I talk.
I love the Eagles of Death Metal, who are kind of cool, by the way, and they're like Eagles of Death Metal. Just saying.
There's also the Dead Elvi. The Dead Elvi usually play at.
Speaking of dead, so I got a surprise. You know, I was in Vegas, right? You both know I was in Vegas, right?
Yes.
We'll get to Jesus Calling because you'll probably want to have Jesus Calling after I talk about this. So there was a near tragedy, Chris and Karen. Did you know that? I was driving around Vegas, and man, oh man, there in front of me was Yoko Ono when I hit her and knocked her over.
Oh, wow. You didn't miss this time. That's good.
And before I could say I'm sorry and get up, she ran away. But look what she left me. She left me these really cool Yoko Ono glasses. Man,
close up on that one.
Yeah, it's like I feel like singing out of tune a lot when I wear these, right? I mean, this is like full face coverage. I could go into a 7-Eleven and rob it with these on. You know, this is great.
You can avoid COVID with that while you're driving by yourself.
That's right. These are like COVID anti-COVID glasses.
PTSD.
Uncle Floyd. How about the Count Floyd 3D movie? There we go.
Oh, yes. Uncle Yono glasses in 3D.
Uncle Floyd. That's a Jersey thing, Chris. Uncle Floyd. Isn't that a Jersey thing?
Yeah, Uncle Floyd's different. Uncle Floyd did the 3D. That's right. Uncle Floyd was the
3D House of Pancakes. Dr. Tongue's 3D House of Pancakes. Let's get that correct.
There we go.
Dr. Tongue, who was played by John Candy. John Candy played Dr. Tongue, by the way.
Right.
Just say it.
A comic genius, by the way.
That's right. So, and also, my ex-wife Rena actually gave me these. These are the cool Trump glasses, right?
Oh, those are the meme glasses. Yes,
those are the meme glasses. That's
the
right.
gangster lifestyle glasses. Let's do the close-up on that.
I got to get a cigar to go with these. Yeah. Do I have a cigar? I think I can get a cigar.
Then it will be the Bill Clinton sunglasses, right?
That's kind of. You got to have like the thing like that. Is that the look? Something like that. Anyway, so cigars. So anyway, it was kind of a cool trip, and no Yoko Onos were harmed in preparing this skit, right? Right, Karen? We didn't actually harm Yoko Ono. So don't be writing the show and complaining to Ed that I said I ran over Oko. I said I bumped into her, and she left her glasses for me. Just saying. So no complaints, right?
You just bumped into her a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's right. And she can still sing out of tune as best as she ever has. Just saying. No harm was done to Yoko Ono in getting the glasses from her. But those are pretty good. And I don't know how I'm going to wear those yet, but I will wear them in some respect. Where the pics? I don't have pics. Oh, Trixie has pics. That's right. They're talking about Trixie's pics.
Yes.
Yoko.
So pictures from the event last Friday. They're going to plan a new one. I'd like to go to the next one. That's going to be fun. It looks like it's going to be a blast. So, interesting.
So good. All right. So go ahead, Chris. You had some other things you want to talk about. Don't let me distract you.
I wanted to do that, but since I was going to say you probably didn't want to fight JB Pritzker at the buffet table. So before we get to Jesus calling, let's get to some Pritzker here. So apparently JB Pritzker was mouthing off about everything under the sun again because he's upset that Donald Trump wants to clean up other cities besides Washington. And I guess Pritzker is so upset that his criminal constituency was going to be harmed during some of this, if anything happens, or if the National Guard gets called in, which, by the way, will be his responsibility, not Donald Trump's, that he had this to say on, of course, a press conference. MSNBC covered this while they're all smiling and probably sucking up to him afterward.
Into what he's saying about this.
Over the weekend, we learned from the media that Donald Trump has been planning for quite a while now to deploy armed military personnel to the streets of Chicago. This is exactly the type of overreach that our country's founders warned against. And it's the reason that they established a federal system with a separation of powers built on checks and balances. What President Trump is doing is unprecedented and unwarranted. It is illegal. It is unconstitutional. It is un-American. No one from the White House or the executive branch has reached out to me or to the mayor. No one has reached out to our staffs. No effort has been made to coordinate or to ask for our assistance in identifying any actions that might be helpful to us. Local law enforcement has not been contacted. We have made no requests for federal intervention. None. We found out what Donald Trump was planning the same way that all of you did. We read a story in the Washington Post. If this was really about fighting crime and making the streets safe, what possible justification could the White House have for planning such an exceptional action without any conversations or consultations with the governor, the mayor, or the police?
Tony, had you been president, let's say we have President Tony Shaffer here, would you even consider, besides maybe an initial discussion, talking to these two, Pritzker and Kami Johnson, about fixing Chicago as far as crime's concerned? Because these people would be no help in the first place.
No more than I would consider talking to Muriel Bowser or the police chief in D.C., which they didn't talk to either. It's like, yeah, we're doing this. So, and by the way, just in Pritzker's defense, I don't know if this has been reported, he ate most of the Illinois National Guard. They were like a dessert, I think, or something for him. So they're gone. So the point being,
this is years off after his appearance in Meatballs.
There he is,
as a matter of fact,
eating the National Guard. That's right. Yeah. So So no, I wouldn't say it. And then Brandon Johnson, are you kidding me? He's got a 7% approval rate. I wouldn't ask him for advice on a dog catcher, for God's sake. And I'm an elected official here in North Carolina. So,
Send him to the Zoran Mamkami campaign. I got another one for both you. And Karen, I want your thoughts on this too, because check this out. J.B. Pritzker decided that he is such a big factor in national politics, which he's not, unless you're talking about the national hot dog eating contest. He decides he's trying to tell some reporters and stage the whole thing by saying, I'm so cool that Donald Trump is living in my head rent free. Well, let's just see what's really happening when you watch the pan after this little quotes. This has gone viral, by the way, so check this out.
It's great.
About the progress that we're making. I know that I live rent free in the president's head. And I wish he would spend some time in Chicago so that he could see what a lovely city we have. Governor, quick follow-up. What do you do if... So
the president is living in his head. He just had to do it in front of Trump Tower. By the way, if Trump is living if Pritzker's living rent-free in Trump's head, then Trump, my friends, is living rent-free in J.P. Pritzker. Yeah, I screwed this up. I'm going to start that one over. If Trump is living, if Pritzker's living in Trump's head, then Trump is living in Pritzker's stomach. There we go. Boy,
I don't know Pritzker's stomach. You could probably have most of Texas living in Pritzker's stomach, and he wouldn't even know it.
Now they're afraid of getting
kind of like So, but enough about Pritzker and more about being saved. So, Karen, are you? Can you do Jesus calling to save us before we go off the cliff, which we're already on the edge of?
Yeah, I definitely think it's needed today and every day, because we just keep falling further and further. I think it's great too. Today's good. It's rest in my presence, allowing me to take charge of this day. Do not bolt into the day like a racehorse suddenly released. Instead, walk purposefully with me, and a little tongue-tied, letting me direct your course one step at a time. Thank me for each blessing along the way that brings joy to both you and me. A grateful heart protects you from negative thinking, and thankfulness enables you to see the abundance that I shower upon you daily. Your prayers and petitions are winged into heaven's throne room, where they are penetrated with thanksgiving. In everything, give thanks. This is my will for you. So that's today's Jesus calling, guys.
That is so nice, and I appreciate so much, Karen, that in today's Jesus calling, they make reference to horses for Tim Walz, Governor Walz. God bless him. God bless him.
I mean, I can't believe that Chicago thinks that Donald Trump offers that, that they have done anything to warrant him having to ask permission here. I'm really shocked. I'm shocked that this leadership, like Pritzker, thinks that they in any way have served the people of Chicago. Like, you're there for your constituents. The whole thing just infuriates me. It's just terrible.
That's the problem. Their constituents basically at this point are all ingrates and criminals. 70% of the Democrat base is either in jail, on their way to jail, or has been in jail, or maybe wishes they were in jail. That's basically 70% of the Democrat cult at this point. The collective. And remember, at the front of the DNC, their first speaker said, never underestimate the power of the collective. So the Democrat Party should be here, as noted in the DNC convention 2024. Here forward, they should be referred to as the collective.
Yeah. So the issue I have, Karen, and I don't know if you've been tracking this, Chris. Have you been tracking the stats in the DC crackdown?
Yeah, well, again, fudged.
No. Yes. If you track the stats of J.D. Pritzker, he's already eaten half the monthly supplies of Burger King in the first 3 days of the month. So you can't go by that.
Barrel anymore.
But no. So one of the notable statistics, which I think is important, since the DC crackdown started, since we deployed federal agents and the National Guard, Karen, do you know how many murders there's been in DC?
Zero. It's unbelievable.
Zero.
I mean,
Zero.
I can't.
Zero.
I just think look at what a simple solution. What a simple solution this was, and what is Chicago so afraid of, Tony? What are they so afraid of? If it's been such a success, right? It's just everything defies logic. Like, I really wake up every day and do my job now and live my life and do the things that I do. And I walk around just thinking that there is, maybe it's an 80-20 rule at this point, but it's definitely the majority of the population that, if you're aligned with the left, you're delusional. There's just no other way to slice it.
Yeah.
The logic is gone. It's completely gone. It really does blow my mind.
Right. And the fact is, you'd think that there are some sensible people like there used to be within the party that'll say, look, this is not working.
Right.
This whole woke garbage is not actually working. And there actually are some people doing the same thing. There is again, I know this is an oxymoron. It's a left-leaning Democrat think tank. Okay, so I guess think, and you know where I'm going here.
It's all relative, right?
Right. It's sort of an oxymoron here, but the fact is, this think tank on the left is saying something we've been telling the Democrats for a long time. Stop using a lot of these silly, woke, divisive, elitist terms to try to make themselves sound smarter and virtue signal. They can't be using things like therapy speak. And I want to give you some words here: privilege, dialoguing. Now, do we talk? We don't dialogue. Triggering. Well, we say triggering a lot because it's funny, but they say triggering because they think it's serious. Centering. Safe space. Yes, stop saying, and body shaming. And there's, of course, the seminar room language, subverting norms, cultural appropriation, critical theory. Now, most of these things have no real meaning to them, more as just adding words to make themselves sound more important. And of course, then let's say small d democracy, barriers to participation, food insecurity is important. Person who immigrated instead of migrant. Gender orientation correctness, like pregnant people, dead naming, the patriarchy, and even LGBTQIA+, which proves your point, Tony, that you've mentioned several times, that the LGBs are very tired of the rest of the alphabeters.
Oh, yeah. Our mutual friends with Cherie are fed up with it, who are gay and lesbians. So,
And they're also saying stop with Latinx, BIPOC, and intersectionality, which is smart. But the left is never going to do that because the collective needs these words to keep their base going. And by the way, have you ever met a Latin person that corrected you and said, we want to be called Latinx?
No. As a matter of fact, I don't know of anybody in my circle to include that includes some Democrats. I'll be seeing some next month doing some 9/11 stuff. I've never had a Democrat try to correct me, as a matter of fact, at least the Democrats I hang out with, which are very few these days. But so Karen, do you think this course correction will help save the Democrats from themselves by doing this insanity, basically stepping back from their Orwellian future speak? What do you think?
I want to go right to what makes sense? Like, what would I do? What would you do in this scenario, right? But you can't even apply logic because it's impossible to do when you're in a situation when you're dealing with these people because they're delusional. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, the fact that they've become the Communist Party is absolutely shocking. But at the same time, people aren't turning away from them, at least the ones that are stupid enough to buy into all of the things that we were sold, like COVID and everything else. I mean, I just really don't know what's going to happen in the United States of America if we don't have Donald Trump in office. But every day I wake up and I'm thankful to be in the moment that we're in. I'm so thankful that there's no murders in DC. I think they should send the National Guard to every single city where there's excessive crime. And we should clean up the entire country. And I think the chat's going to be like, yes, that's how I feel every day, all day long. But yet I think they're actually their own worst enemies. But what scares me is that they've skewed things, whether it's through, manipulated elections or everything else, where they've actually been able to gain power over and over again. So what's going to stop them from manipulating again? Who knows? And this time, is it going to be worse? Because they've come out and said, well, basically, we're anarchists, communists, and we own it. Where are we going to be?
Yeah. Well, two things on that. Yeah. Right? First, this morning, there's an article out about how, well, first off, to your point, Karen, every city we're talking about is run by the Democrats, right? I mean, there's not a single Republican-run city that we're looking at for this severe makeover, this National Guard makeover, right? Wow. I guess that's a good term for it. And secondly, just the corruption on their side. Our friends of the show, the Venturas, Fran and Diane. Diane sent me a link this morning talking about how the feds right now are investigating Pennsylvania, and they've asked for a copy of the registered voters in Pennsylvania. They want to compare the registered voters to the number of ballots cast. And you know what? The state of Pennsylvania doesn't want to give it to them. I wonder why. Why would you not want to give the list of approved and kind of confirmed voters with a number of votes cast? Why would you not want to do that?
Yeah,
I think we know the answer.
Yeah, it's true. And by the way, you brought up those crime numbers and this whole thing about the red. Pritzker in that press conference I played a little bit of earlier, later on in that said something about, red states and red cities are the ones that have more crime. This is a lie that the Democrats are actually a statistical skewing or a statistical manipulation that the Democrats are trying to give you. When they say red states have higher crime rates, it's because you're talking about sparsely populated ones like Arkansas, Mississippi, and Missouri that feature these deep blue cities within that have extremely high crime rates that skews the state numbers because all around the suburbs aren't that big and the exurbs in the rural areas are very sparsely populated. So it's going to look like they have worse crime rates, but they're blue run cities that have skewed all the numbers to the horrid side, if you will. So don't let these Democrats fool you. And this whole thing about changing their language, they're just going to say, well, all right, we'll find another way to try to manipulate the public because they can't rely on policy, they can't rely on sound leadership, and they can't rely on people that can do the job. All they can rely on is activism, rousing the rabble, and manipulation.
So let's hit that a little bit. So states like Missouri has St. Louis, and St. Louis is especially, any number of cities, but St. Louis in particular, Kansas City, another. There's a Kansas City, Missouri, by the way. I was born in Kansas City, Missouri.
It's like the same city.
On the Missouri side, yeah. So just saying. And Tennessee, you have Memphis. I mean, you can't walk 5 steps without getting mugged in Memphis, apparently, according to the stats there. And then you have other states like Nevada. I was just out in Vegas. Once you get out of Vegas, everything is kind of calm. So you have a Democrat-run city where the crime is up there, just saying. And it's very clear that all the stats regarding red states really don't apply because it's all blue. It's a blue cancer inside the state that causes it. Right, Karen?
We got to work on that sound thing there, Karen.
What?
We got to work on that sound thing there.
I thought I fixed it. I'm so upset, guys.
You're being censored.
Sorry.
It's the leftists. They're doing something.
Wait, hold on. Let's go and try this. Hold on. Let me try one more thing. Let's see, guys.
So sorry. How's that?
You sound good
better?
Oh, that's better. That's better.
It is? That's
so
weird.
We can hear you.
I'm so sorry. And I know in the chat, and I was trying to fix it, but I thought I had. But I'm so glad you can hear me now.
This is like the Verizon commercials. Remember that guy? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? And then he went to
Can you
Sprint.
hear me now?
Yeah.
Technology is a blessing and a curse. Like sometimes things go so right and sometimes it just goes so awry. But, as you were saying, I mean, they're their own worst enemies. It's absolutely unbelievable. There's just zero logic, Tony. And I just wake up every day and I'm like confused about where we're headed. And I think the only way to head is in a red direction. There is no blue because it is, like you said, like a blue cancer. In Las Vegas, it's expected. There's drinking, there's nonsense, there's all sorts of stuff that happens there. You expect a certain amount of crime. But this is just a theme throughout the country, everywhere. And you expect to see weird things in Vegas. You go there seeking a certain amount of danger, I would say. But places like New York and Chicago, I think, you bring your families. I want to take my family to go see a show on Broadway. I don't have the expectation that I'm going to be accosted by an illegal alien or a homeless man and stabbed in the, Times Square in the middle of, a crowd. And that happens. Things like that happen every single day.
Well, that's the thing. So Giuliani cleaned up the city, and Bloomberg kind of kept it cleaned up. I spent a lot of, because Chris knows, we spent a lot of time up there during Dr. London's time in the mid 2000s, before things went really downhill. So Manhattan used to be a fairly safe place. I used to ride the subway everywhere. I love the subway. It was great.
Too.
There's a little. I have a little problem with the way Giuliani did some of that. And let's start it with Dinkins. We'll start there too. But a lot of the times,
Dinkins. Oh, you want to go to Koch?
Dinkins.
Dinkins and Giuliani sent a lot of their social problems to the Hudson Valley, which is where I live. We had Middletown, you had Ellenville, you had Monticello, you had other cities in Westchester and that area. And when I used to read the police blotter in the morning, and for I guess those periods between Dinkins, we had a mayor named Dirk Makatoff, who was like 150 years old, and she was an old style Democrat, an FDR Democrat, and she let all these people in. And you'd see the police blotter say blah 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 of Jerome Avenue in the Bronx, blah 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 of Queens, blah 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 of East Bronx or whatever, would be part. They'd always have those residences because that's what the licenses said. And this is they were setting all these problems up here. Yes, yeah. So they clean up the city by dirtying up other places too. So you can't do that either.
Didn't Dinkins go on to open a chain called Dinkins Donuts or something like that? It didn't work because they got sued out of existence. No, it's different. I'm sorry.
That's right.
It's different.
Well,
you could go back to Koch too. Like, think about, I grew up in that area. So, Mayor Koch was horrible too. And I mean, I grew up in a time where there were like burnt out buildings in the Bronx. Like, I remember being in the car, like driving to Long Island or, doing different things, going across the Verrazano through Staten Island and sitting in traffic with the smog in the 70s and the early 80s. And it was bad. I mean, I grew up, walking around the subways when they smelled like pee and there was graffiti everywhere.
Welcome back to that.
Now it's like that again. I mean, we've seen a renaissance of this. And this is like the Jimmy Carter years, right?
Less
and
graffiti,
then
more
it
pee.
Cleaned up and it got better. Dinkins was horrible, but Giuliani, out of everybody in my lifetime, hands down, was the person who single-handedly came in and cleaned up crime. And Donald Trump is being that person to DC right now. Think about it.
Right.
What's happening in DC? I mean, that's sort of, God bless Rudy Giuliani, is sort of the Giuliani effect. It's like, you know what? No, we're going to go balls to the wall and we're going to do this. And you're not going to tell me no, and I'm going to fix it, because it's gotten so bad that the people that I represent are putting their lives in danger when they leave the house. So no more screwing around. I'm on it. And that's what I respect about Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump.
Well, let me ask that question to you and the Patriots too. So I think in a way, I don't think, it's going to be hard. This is hard for me to say, but I think it's necessary. The absence of President Trump for the past 4 years permitted the woke left and all these these mayors and governors to go full woke, right? Right, Chris? They went full woke.
Yes.
And so they were able to implement their policies across the board. And so clearly anywhere, as Donald Trump says, go woke, go broke. He says other things too, pretty severe, but I won't say it here because we're trying to be PG. But the bottom line is there's a bright line between what Donald Trump's trying to do regarding security for the citizens versus the left, who basically no cost bail, no accountability, the party of criminals, the party of illegal aliens. So I think, to me, in a way, it's good, kind of good, maybe good that Joe Biden and the corrupt Democrats came in and were able to run the board. They came across, they showed us who they are. And what's that, Chris? Remember, your mom told you when you were a kid, when someone shows you who they are, believe them, right? So
that's great. They took it out, basically.
So is this going to be a wake-up call for the sane Democrats? That's my question to you, Karen, and to the crowd.
Are there sane Democrats?
You think this is going to be a wake-up?
What kind of world are we in now?
They would leave. They would leave the party.
Well, okay.
They would, but they haven't. And that's where I have to question myself, is how much is too much, Tony? They didn't leave when Elizabeth Warren was claiming she was Pocahontas. They didn't leave when Bernie Sanders was wandering around with AOC. They didn't leave when we now have an Islamist who wants to basically enact Sharia law in Manhattan, in addition to being a communist. Like, I just, at what point are they leaving? So at this point, I don't know that there's any sane Democrats left. And I know that sounds strong, but I really don't even care anymore. I'm like at the point now where it's like, and if you know my position on thinking that you're completely insane as a Democrat, like, don't even come at me, right? Like, don't even come at me, because you can't defend your position. These people cannot defend their position. And when forced to try to defend their position, they either go to low blows, insults, or absolute insanity. And that's why things like the trans movement and all of these things that we all go, wait, how can this even be happening? This is all just theatrics, because that's all it is. These people are just absolutely insane. Insane.
Well, there's a couple of things I want to go through regarding that are kind of medically oriented. We're going to talk about Tulsa here in a minute, right, Chris? We'll talk about Tulsa.
We do have a guest coming up soon, so we're going to talk to the guest pretty soon. But I do want to add something to that. Gone are the days of Bob Kerrey and Tip O'Neill finding these little commies who were trying to grab attention via, well, again, there was no internet, big time internet back then, but they're trying to grab attention through any means possible. Going to the days where they put these people aside and say, listen, shut up for the good of the party, because we got to move forward. We got to put our, we got to push our agenda here, but shut up and stop acting like this, because you're going to make us lose votes and lose the middle. And just sit down and maybe learn a thing or two before hitting the varsity,
Chris,
if you will. And now you have,
but that's the issue. I think that's why the Democrats had to resort. They recognized about 10 years ago they were never going to win elections based on their policies or personalities. Just saying.
Right.
And so that's why they went in to take over institutions and make them subordinate elements of the Democrat Party. USAID. I think we have never been told, and I think it's going to come, how much money was being siphoned off from these international programs that were coming right back in the United States. And let's hit another number. Karen, did you know that there's over 500 think tanks and nonprofits in California who are engaged in, quote, unquote, solving the homeless problem? 500. And it's $22 billion in 12 years to solve something that this is, they have franchised the pain and suffering of the homeless. It is a cottage industry. It's good to be a Democrat think tank or nonprofit in California if you can get on the homeless resolution train, because you don't have to worry about figuring it out. You just get all this money, right?
Wait, give me the dollar figure again, Tony. Give me that figure.
$22 billion.
$22 billion
over the past
think
12
about
years.
this, okay? Think about, like, again, small slices of things, right? Like all this economic development, all of these opportunities they have with these downtown districts and these rehabilitation where they're providing housing, right? But yet they have no place for these people to go. You know, one of the best things that I saw was when they were just bulldozing in DC and just picking up the tents with the bulldozer and throwing them in the garbage truck. You know, that's the first step, is let's just go in there with a bulldozer. And guess what? You know what? Let's get $1 million, me, you, and Chris, and give us one city in a bulldozer. And let's go to work and let's find housing for these people. Give me $1 million. Let's find housing for these people. And let's go ahead and pick up all the tents with a bulldozer, throw it in a garbage truck. It'll be very satisfying. And we will empower these people for the better. As normal citizens, we could do that job feasibly, right? With $1 million in a small city. I mean, it's all relative, but we could do that. So why, oh, why, with billions of dollars, can the Democrats not do it? And the only answer that I can come up with is because they don't want to. And the fact that they don't want to makes them inherently evil. And then we can go back down the rabbit hole about why I think, you know, at this point, anybody is not only insane being part of the Democrats, you're actually feeding the beast. You're a part of the problem.
Right.
Well, they also found a way to control a lot of these judgeships. And that's where we're bringing our guest, Ann Vandersteel, who is, again, a co-founder of this really cool organization called, I'll get that going in a second because my eyes are just really bugging me today. But it's the American Made Foundation. Boy, my eyes are just hurting me today. But welcome, Ann. And the idea is the Democrats have all found a way to implant judges who will just find a way to crown themselves a king or crown themselves king like this Judge Boasberg fellow and try to block anything the administration tries to do. Welcome to the program.
Well, thanks, everybody. Yeah, it's good to see you. Karen, good to see you, too. You know, it's
nice
really
to see
the insanity.
It's been a long time, Ann.
Right?
And I want to just apologize. I'm actually, guys, I am bouncing for a meeting in a little bit, so I'm going to stay on as long as I can. But, guys, I'm going to be in the chat. So you won't see me physically, but when I'm on my way to my meeting, I will be in the chat discussing the entire interview. So I'm really looking forward to hearing everything you have to say, Ann. I just wanted to let everybody know.
Oh, thanks, Karen. I appreciate that. And it's a great conversation we're having. And this is, you know, I feel like we're back 250 years ago. And I think we're looking for 56 brave souls who are going to sign their name, their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to a crumpled up piece of parchment that Nancy 3 Martinis Pelosi would call a relic. You know, it's the most functional piece of paper this country's ever had, yet we seem to ignore it all the time, particularly these tyrants, 235 of them that the mushroom in the previous administration from the White House, you know, basically installed. And these judicial tyrants are smacking down, you know, what constitutional law should be holding up. And frankly, you know, Boasberg got a smackdown right back, and the Constitution won because that tyrant in a robe, an Obama appointee, by the way, tried to play commander in chief from the bench. And instead of interpreting law, what is he doing? He's attempting to criminally punish Trump officials for, I don't know, doing their jobs, protecting our borders, enforcing foreign policy agreements. The overreach is amazing. It's the hubris and the level of hubris that Boasberg in particular has leveled against we the people by, you know, invoking the Alien Enemies Act going back to 1798 to block the deportation of flights of these gang-linked detainees, right? This is what we rely on, and yet this guy's pretending he's God from the bench. And this is what they all do. I see it all the time in family courts, which is something that we are very focused on at American Made Foundation and American Made Action. It's the complete illegitimacy. There's no due process. There's no jury of your peers. Basically, every one of your amendments is ignored that would be relative to protection of your rights and freedoms as granted by God and as codified in the rule of law known as our Constitution. So, you know, Boasberg, you know, when President Trump and the administration carried out the flights anyway, because again, what did we do in November of 24? We actually instituted a mandate and told President Trump, we want these people out of here. We don't want Trendy Aragua. We don't want these deals cut from the Biden regime, allowing these criminals in our country right now. What did Boasberg do? He escalated this to criminal contempt against the executive officials that were, you know, getting these people expedited out of here. It's not about law. It's total raw political power, and it's a judge trying to run immigration policy from the bench. It's so clear.
So, Ann, I think you've diagnosed the problem very clearly, and I appreciate the way you framed it. The problem is this: you know, we've got 3.5 years left to resolve and try to overcome the treachery of both Barack Obama, because Barack Obama, heck, I'd go back to the Clintons. The Clintons putting people like Lois Lerner. They put people in at a very junior level. They've worked their way up. Comey was one of those juniors that became a senior. So we've got the Clintons. I would argue we've got Bush 43 to deal with. His folks are still in there, the neocons. You've got obviously Obama's folks. They're still running around. Some of them have morphed into to Biden folks. What's the best strategy and course of action to start weeding out, especially the judges? The judges, to me, seem to be the most influential. You just talked about Boasberg. These people have lifetime appointments. So, a two-part question: should we relook lifetime appointments of federal judges? And secondly, what can we do to counter some of the clearly anti-constitutional, I would say illegal actions of legislating from the bench? How do we deal with those two things?
Well, first of all, they're breaking the law. You know, that's number one. They should be
right.
We should have grand jury indictments against these people. But, you know, here's the thing, you know, in the federal court system, we're dealing with a really corrupt electorate, if you will, right? It's hard to get a jury pool that's going to see rationale and the Constitution for what it is. So what we are challenged with right now, and I want to give a shout out to Tulsi Gabbard. She's doing an incredible job.
Yeah, we want to talk about Tulsi in a minute.
Okay, good. So we know that she's very focused on fixing these elections and getting all of that, you know, dirt up to the surface so that we can actually get President Trump's. And there's a lot of great people. The United Sovereign Americans, for one, comes to mind, an organization that's got 10,000 volunteers. They've got all the ways that they stolen these elections, right down to all the very dirty voter rolls. So we can basically, you know, get Trump's executive order in place to have same-day elections on paper ballots, watermark ballots, and have all the evidence we need to overcome anybody that's going to challenge this EO in court. And they're going to come and challenge this EO when he finally signs it. So,
so I want to go through that a little bit. And by the way, full disclosure, Tulsi and I are friends. I've been advising Tulsi since before she became a Republican. Yeah, it's grandly ironic that my friend Dennis Kucinich, Crazy Dennis, came to me one day saying, "Hey, I know it's like he's a Democrat. Well, he's kind of like left the party anyway." He said, "Hey, would you advise a friend of mine?" This is back 10 years ago. It's like, well, you're a friend of mine, so sure. Who is it? Tulsi Gabbard. Like, okay, sure. Anyway, but Tulsi's great. I see in the chat people love Tulsi. Tulsi is a woman who recognized the potential failures of her own side. I mean, they did her in. I don't want to. We could go through all that again someday. But to your point, Ann, she's going through right now and examining a number of key components. First off, election security. I think we all would agree there were the huge shenanigans. And I don't know if you follow me. I got fired because I was doing the investigation of the pallet of ballots guy, Jesse Morgan, moving, semi trailers of ballots to Pennsylvania from Bethpage, New York, 30 days before the 2020 election. Of course, Bill Barr fired me. We could get into that. I'm sure she's going to look into that. She's going to look at the issues of overseas shenanigans, which DHS denied, and we know DHS lied on this. The Chris Krebs thing, I mean, oh my God. Talk about people who need to be in jail. I mean, let's talk about that a bit. I mean, what the heck?
Yeah, there's a guy. Just don't put him in front of Boasberg.
That's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
I mean, there is just fraud, waste, abuse, corruption, thievery, grifting everywhere you look at it. I mean, all of these agencies, I'm a purist when it comes to the Constitution. These agencies really aren't even constitutional. I mean, I let a piece out the other day about the IRS. I'm putting some more information out every day. I'm dripping it out. We're going to bring all of my guys on that have done the crack work on this to prove that the IRS is completely fraudulent. I just got a phone call from another broadcaster.
It's an illegal organization.
It's illegal. It's illegal. But hey, it's DC, anything goes. So, when it comes back to Tulsi and what she's doing, the most important thing she can work right now is making sure we have a fair and free election in November of 26. Because if you want to get rid of these federal judges, going back to the original question, we have to have a Congress that'll work with the people to basically impeach and remove. But I also stand on the ground that these judges are already illegitimate and they need to be removed legally for the crimes that they're committing when they're literally ignoring the Constitution and legislating from the bench. Their mandate is not to do that. Their mandate is to, as a judge, look at the law and then enforce the law. In other words, say, I'm interpreting the law and this is what the law says, and you're not following law. Joe Biden, for instance, do you remember when he did that press conference outside wherever that mushroom was standing and said, I need the people to give me the tools to enforce the borders? What? Hello, Article 4, Section 4. And Tony and Chris, to that point, none of the 50 governors during that same time period stood on Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, where they could have actually repelled that foreign invasion in their state, despite the fact that Abbott and my governor, DeSantis, were sending people, illegals out of my state, pushed into other states for political stunts. It sounded cute at the time and made good headlines, but all we were doing was pushing the infiltration further into the country and making it more difficult for ICE to go and round these people up. So, we have had a complete collapse of law and order, and it starts at the top. And it starts with the governors, and it starts with the president from Joe Biden, who literally blew up the border. And now President Trump is doing everything he can, but look, this is an all hands on deck approach. So what Tulsi needs to do is get these elections under control. I think President Trump is accurate, maybe even underreporting how much of Congress and the Senate will flip in 26 if we have a real election. Now we have the people being representative. And what do the people want? They want accountability, and they want these people out of here. And when judges don't deliver accountability because they're trying to turn planes full of criminals called the Tren de Aragua around midair and bring them back, no, that doesn't work for the Americans. And that's where you get judges being removed immediately. And look, let's face it, these courts are illegitimate. They are not, Article 3 courts where you really have a court of equity like you're supposed to have per our Constitution. And they're just legislating from the bench. They're tyrants in black robes.
Well, let's hope Trump does better than the Clash when they fought the law, because the law won.
Yeah, and they rocked the Casbah too, and they dropped the bombs between the minarets, which I love that lyric, by the way. Apparently, they still get in trouble for singing dropping bombs between the minarets, but it's kind of true, right? Right, Chris?
Right. And as a matter of fact, if London's calling, they should be calling us to keep people from getting from stomping on the.
By the way, a quick note on that.
Go.
Have you looked at the list of conservatives? Now, one of the people she texted me. I'm wearing her T-shirt. Cherie Curry texted me the other day. It's like, hey, did you see I made the list of conservatives? So she's proud, Cherie Curry, that she's on the list of conservative rock and rollers. There's a whole list. So,
I'm gonna have to go check that out. I might have to support them on my Apple iTunes.
It's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Who I had no idea some of these folks. And by the way, there's some other conservatives who I'm friends with who don't want to note themselves, who are pretty big actors, who were in pretty big movies like Full Metal Jacket. Just saying, that's a little hint, but don't go speculating too much there, folks. Anyway, back to the topic of what's going on. So, and the issue to me is, how do we create durable solutions? Because one of the things that happened, and I said this earlier in the show, maybe it was good in a very obtuse way, that we saw the bright differences between Biden, old Depends undergarment guy, and did you know that they made a special double absorbent Depends just for Joe Biden? And it was really nice that they did that for him.
Yeah,
anyway.
I think consideration of your elders is a lot more than his wife Jill was doing. She was literally engaging in elder abuse. She's a doctor. Did you know she's a doctor of dental proctology? I don't know how you do that, but she was. Anyway, back to Biden, so to speak. So, but the idea here is that we've seen a very bright line between the woke and the unwoke. And do you think that that's something that we first off, it was necessary? I think it was. I mean, I hate to say it, but it was. And secondly, and you seem to be in the solution space. And we want to have you back, because this is a great conversation. I love this. We need to start looking at how do we go past this Trump term, and who should be leading this? Should it be J.D. Vance? Should it be Marco Rubio? Who should then look at carrying on the fight? Because nobody's going to measure up to Trump. I don't think there's going to be another Trump, but you got to pick someone who's going to be able to keep the mantle going. So I know it's a complicated question, but I think you can handle it. So
I do want to add in this: the person that takes over for Trump might have to be a lot more independent from the Republican Party. You might be people look to J.D. Vance and hope he's going to be that. He's a self-made guy, and he doesn't have to be a politician. There's also Vivek Ramaswamy, but where's the bench after that?
These are great questions, and I'm going to answer them. As far as, how do we take control of this? It's very simple. This little document right here kind of spelled it out. And the biggest problem we have is that the people are not involved, and we have to find a way. And to your point, Tony, I do believe that, it's like a child with the hot stove. Don't you tell them 1,000 times it's hot, don't touch, don't touch, don't touch. But they're going to touch it because they just have to learn for themselves. Well, I think America has now basically put their face on the hot stove, and we're like,
I think you're right.
My God, this burns. And not only that, it's rearranging my face. I don't like what I see in the mirror anymore. I got to do something about it. And so I think we're starting to see more and more, which is why I think when we, start to, when this executive order is signed, I predict we're going to see a lot of rats jump from the ship, i.e. they're not going to run for re-election. They're going to retire. Whatever it is that rats do, they're going to go do, because they know that they don't have a prayer's chance in hell of trying to win if you have a free and fair election with paper ballots, same-day voting, and voter ID. It's just not going to happen. So they're going to have to go and do something, which is remove themselves from the spotlight. That's number one. Number two, I think that's going to open the door for a lot of people who thought, why would I ever run for office? Why do I want to go to that sewer in DC? I don't want to be up there, and I don't want to be down here. Now, unfortunately, President Trump's executive order isn't going to impact and force the states to straighten up and fly right. Maybe the governors will do something about it, because the states are responsible for the down ballot, elections in the municipalities and the counties, et cetera. Not the state, not the Senate and Congress, but everything else. So perhaps maybe we can see some, get rid of this mail-in voting in Oregon, for instance, all the way down ballot. It's ridiculous, right?
Yeah, let me hit that real quick, because I've been tweeting on this, and I had a tweet that really went viral regarding the fact I pointed out that Governor Hochul, oh man, it gets caught in my throat.
It's like Hockaloogie, maybe?
I know. Hochul, or also known as Vampirilla from her old days.
Vampira.
She tweeted out saying, service members have been using vote by mail forever. It's like, no, it's called absentee voting, and it's very closely controlled. So, so the left is trying to, confabulate
the
this
language.
It's like, no, it's not the same. And so, so people are paying attention. My point being is that they're trying to lie about this, and they're trying to say, oh, this has been, that's not. And so I think President Trump's executive order banning that is appropriate. I think he's got the right to do it. And the left keeps saying, oh, that limits voting. It's like, no, the Constitution actually calls for single day voting. It does not give a week. It does not give a month of voting. It gives a day. It says on one day, this day, you're supposed to have that vote. That's what the Constitution says. So to your point, we need to go back to that. But my fear is that you have so many states. There she is. There's Governor Hochul back in her younger days. Vampire,
Your
she
producer's
was great.
doing a great job, by the way. Love it.
Yeah. So well, Chris is the producer. Chris does this. So this is all Chris.
You're doing a great job finding the graphics for this segment.
By the way, she's sucking the blood out of New York. Just saying.
It's getting worse. And,
just saying.
They recently found a way to use this whole green excuse to raise electricity prices another high percentage. This is getting worse every time. It's bad enough we're paying that congestion pricing too. Try this. I also want to throw this in with what both of you were saying. Our friend Dr. Jerome Corsi has been working on an investigation through God's Five Stones on Act Blue. Tony, you mentioned earlier that USAID has been shattered. It's been thrown around. It's flattened. And this was a major arm of Democrat money laundering. Act Blue is another one of those with the dark money and the money laundering. They're being investigated for mortgage fraud, trafficking, possibility of human trafficking and other infractions. But this is another major arm of Democrat funding. They're going to be without money, with only the support of the small factions of ingrates, if you will, that probably won't agree with each other 4 years down the road, and worse. So Democrats' future does not look good, does it?
Not at all. I interviewed Sean Taylor about this exact story several weeks ago. And, God bless this man. He's been working on this for 15 years. It's taken him 2 years every day to input all the data he's come up with on this. And when you look at the money laundering circuit, you realize the billions of dollars being laundered in by cartels into Oconus banks up in Canada predominantly, including one investment bank, Goldman Sachs, here in the States. They've laundered billions and billions in. They formed these little LLCs to purchase homes and then run them through mortgages to generate massive mortgages. But here's the part that people don't really understand is how deep this goes. Not only are they bringing all this Oconus money in from the cartels and then laundering it through out of Oconus banks into our country, but they have to control people at the very local level in the counties for property appraisers. And the reason they do is because they're going to go take a $600,000 house that they now own, and they're going to take a $60 million mortgage out on that house. But when you look at the actual paperwork tracked inside their own systems, the actual lender's name does not appear. So ordinarily, when you buy a house and the lender, you get a loan for your home mortgage, the lender's name, Bank of America, whoever it is, appears next to the note, whatever the note's total is, $400,000, $500,000 note says Bank of America or whatever bank. But in these cases, that's blank. And so they launder this money in, which is the cartel money, and then they peel it out and push it through to these NGOs like Act Blue. And so this is how they're funding the corruption, but they have to own these people at the very local level to do it. So when we talk about dirt, it isn't just DC. It's filtered all the way down to your backyard.
So, I don't know if you know, I'm a county commissioner here in Chowan County, North Carolina, and I know exactly what you're saying, because we, the county commissioners, control the tax rate on local property. And then you can play all sorts of shenanigans at the local level if you're not careful. And I think this is a great point. There should be a concerted effort. If you want the FBI to do something useful, go investigate local level corruption where they're doing the money laundering. And I think that's something Cash Patel and company should be doing. If there's ever a purpose for the FBI, go look for that local fraud. And to that point, and they do this all the time. They hide their corruption in plain sight. They do mortgages. And then let's talk about Kamala Harris. Did you know that they named a town about her after her? I think it's called Camel Toe Junction in Nevada. Anyway, that's a different story. Anyway, back to Kamala. Did you notice that did you notice that she's going on this book tour?
She's getting money laundered through whatever the publisher is,
exactly.
just like Obama did with his movies.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I cracked up, Chris. See, you got to go back to Ed McMahon's school.
Oh, hey, that's a good one, Johnny.
Do I get my glasses for that one? Do I get to put my glasses
Yes,
on
you
for
do.
that one?
Hey, yo,
yes, you do.
There we go.
Oh my God, you guys are having too much fun over here. This is post-government life. Is this what it's like?
Anyway, well, we're trying to get to some serious points here. The point is they use everyday mechanisms that we're all familiar with. Selling books. I'm a best-selling author, but I actually sold books. I didn't have people
read your book.
Putting them in a warehouse, buying them by the warehouse, pretending they're sold, or going to the local level, buying a $60,000 house for $5 million. I mean, come on. These are all things that we should be examining, right? I mean, this should be our focus right now.
Can I interject here? I mean, I said this last night on another show, but years goes back to 2017. I had a big LinkedIn account. I broke some major stuff, including I had some good people in the intelligence community feeding me information to get out to the masses, like the COVID patent for SARS-CoV-2 in April of 2020. That preempted Adam Schiff to demand that everybody that's leaking information to lose their accounts. And we all lost our accounts shortly after that. A lot of people were attacked. But point I'm making is I got an email one time on LinkedIn from somebody saying, take a look at this mortgage over here. And it was in Maricopa County. It was Rudy Contreras had a house that was bought and sold 3 times in Maricopa County. And this was right after Flynn had been basically removed from the NSA. So I think that's very interesting that Judge Rudy Contreras in the FISA court would get himself a house that was bought and sold 3 times in one day, with the price escalating significantly over the course of the day. And he recused himself shortly thereafter. I wonder what that was about.
Yeah. So I think this is the thing. I guess the summary of our interview today is that we are now recognizing the tools, techniques, and procedures of the left, of how they've done things and how they have to really now scramble, because the largest single source of income for them had become USAID. And by the way, I think, Ann, you would agree, Tulsi, along with Rubio, along with Pete Hegseth, they have to investigate a multi-agency investigation of everything that was going on, because USAID touched DOD, CIA, and then they were funneling it all back through these NGOs and PBOs into the Democrat coffers. So that's something that still is a dangling participle, just saying. But secondly, now we have to start looking domestically, because they're going to be desperate. They've got to find ways of moving money illegally to their causes. And I think that should be one of the key focuses right now, right?
Well, Act Blue is another one of those, and I want to throw this in there too.
Oh,
Once Act Blue gets caught and the whole thing blows up on them, the Democrats are going to go down faster than one of their interns in the Clinton White House.
Hey-o.
I get right.
Monica can't hold a candle to that. Is that what you're saying?
Or a cigar.
Or a cigar. That's right.
Or a cigar. Well, you know,
I was right. It was
here, but you guys are off the rails, so whatever.
Charlie the Tuna cigars. Did you know that Charlie the Tuna made cigars? And during the Clinton White House, he did. So.
There you go.
Anyway, well, we got to go. We've run another hour. We're going to do a quick thing. So, Chris, we're doing a special event this week, aren't we?
Yes, we are. And by the way, after we announce this, I do want to ask a question about this movie that's coming up with you guys too, the Taken movie. But Tony has a big announcement for everybody here.
So, we're doing something. Chris and I are doing something Thursday. What are we doing Thursday, Chris?
We are doing something. We're going to be teasing something very big, and Tony Shaffer is going to be. Well, let's put it this way: he's going to be doing something very special with a new site, a new kind of behind
Sentinel
the
Circle.
scenes.
Sentinel Circle.
Sentinel, yeah,
we're going to be doing it via my ex. Yeah.
Chris.
So we're taking the lead from my friend Catherine Herridge, who does something similar. You know, look, full disclosure, and Catherine's going to come on as one of our first guests, but Catherine is teaching me the ropes, so to speak, of how to actually use X to educate, inform, and entertain, right? And Chris, we entertain, right? We're entertaining, right? Ask the Patriots. We're entertaining.
I think we're entertaining. We're mildly entertaining, right, guys?
So anyway, we're going to do a tease Thursday. We'll talk. Well, yeah, that's right. We'll talk more about it tomorrow, but we are going to be doing some special stuff on Thursday. and we'll give out more details tomorrow, right, Chris?
Yes, we will. And as a matter of fact, and speaking of more details, you have a premiere coming up on September 7th in Boston, and with a movie called Taken. And this one does not, by the way, star Liam Neeson. And I guess he doesn't beat people up in this one.
No. In fact, our organization's going after the monsters in Department of Children and Families in Massachusetts, which literally unlawfully separated children from families over a vitamin K shot for a 9-month-old and sent this family into a tailspin. It's a really horrific story. But we intend at American Made Action to actually dismantle Department of Children and Families. We have a federal lawsuit we're filing right after this premiere on September 7th. On the 8th, a federal lawsuit will be filed. We have a book talking about all this, including some steps on how you can protect your children from the long arms of Department of Children and Families or Child Protective Services. And we're going to expose the fact that all this money is coming out of the Social Security Administration, which is under the guise of HHS, Health and Human Services. We've got to defund and we've got to cut the money out. So when we cut out this cancer, if you want to make America great, you got to have great families, and you can't have great families when they're under attack by the federal and the state government. So we intend to end that. And on this note, I'll leave your audience with this, because this is such a horrific story. Did you know that in Massachusetts, 97% of the families that are separated under DCF do not legally meet the threshold of why you would take children from a family? It is literally about money laundering. So you want to talk about another vector on this 5GW that we're in? It's another vector of how they're attacking and stealing and funding for their own personal gain. It's despicable, and it's going to end. It's my mission, and that's where, and that and the IRS. And after that, I'm going to go find an island somewhere and disappear.
Well, I think there's one that's going to be open pretty soon that nobody's using.
Yeah. I'm going to have to bulldoze. I can't. There's not enough instance to burn to clear that bad energy.
We can bulldoze that. That's right. Take that with Karen here. Yeah. She'll be happy to help us bulldoze.
Yeah.
Well, bulldozing. We have to. Whenever we always think of Governor Pritzker and the fact that he's been able to essentially become the heaviest man in the state of Illinois, which is no small feat.
He's gross. What can we say? You know, he's up there with what was the governor of New Jersey? What was that guy? The bridge and tunnel guy?
Oh, it was Chris Christie. There we go.
Chris Christie.
And there we go. Here's Governor Pritzker with his ice cream.
That could be Chris Christie.
That's right.
Either one.
Yes.
Either one. You guys are great.
All right. So, boy, this has been great. We'd love to have you back soon. This has been a great conversation, and we share a lot of the same interests, obviously. So it's great.
Clearly.
Well, thanks, Ann. We'll see you again soon. And Patriots, thank you for being here.
Sorry?
Yeah, thank you. It's been fun. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for
having us join you
here.
All right, guys.
So,
take care.
Chris, and then we'll be back. We'll be back again tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's one more day.
Yes, we're here tomorrow, and the guest is going to be Mike McCormick. He's the author of he's been out with us before. He's the author of Almost Insurmountable Evil. We're going to talk more Act Blue. We're going to talk more about the trafficking situation here. And we'll definitely be talking about Sentinel Circle. And that's going to open up tomorrow. That's right. That's the other book.
I got Mike's older book here. Yeah, the older book. And by the way, I keep telling people there's a scratch and sniff in the back. It smells like Joe Biden's Depends.
So what does the scratch and sniff smell like, Tony and Ann, with Kamala Harris's new book, 107 Days?
Oh, do you really want me to go there?
I told you it smells like it smells like Camel Toe Junction.
I was going to say it smells like orange jumpsuit, but you know.
Hey-o! That's a good one.
Hey-o.
All right, we gotta go. It's been a great show. Patriots love it.
Thanks,
we
guys.
love you. Oh, I'm so bad. Yeah, you haven't seen bad yet. Wait till you.
He's bad to the nose.
So, all right.